edition of BookTrib Live, a Merrill Media production. Today we are overly thrilled to welcome actress Caroline Berry to talk about her new film, 10 Days in a Madhouse. It is based on a memoir of the same name by author Nellie Bly, also a journalist. And the movie opens in theaters November 11th, Veterans Day, so go see it. Welcome, Caroline. We are so happy to have you today.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
Definitely. Tell us a little bit about 10 Days in a Madhouse and Nellie Bly's character, which you are playing.
So 10 Days in a Madhouse is about Nellie Bly, who was a journalist in the 1800s, the late 1800s, who pioneered investigative journalism. And for 10 Days in a Madhouse, she went undercover into an insane asylum in New York City, Blackwell's Island. And she went undercover, pretended to be insane, got committed by doctors, and spent 10 days in the madhouse there and investigating what was going on there, and finding out that there was a lot of abuse and a lot of really terrible things happening to really wonderful people. So
Wow.
yeah, so that was our film, and Nellie Bly is an amazing was an amazing woman. She was a journalist that she not only wrote articles for mental illness and really made a huge impact on mental illness and mental illness treatment at the time, but she also she reported on divorce, she reported on poverty, on women's rights, just anything to give a voice to people that
Yeah,
didn't have a voice. That's what she was all about.
absolutely. What interested you when you first saw the script in the role?
Well, when I first saw the audition for the movie, I had never heard of Nellie Bly. I had no idea who she was. But as I was reading through it, through the audition call, I was like, okay, I think this is a good. I think I could do that. I think this is a good fit for me. And then I started reading more about her, and then I found her book, 10 Days in a Madhouse, online, and I started reading it. And I thought, oh, I'll just like skim it, but
Right.
I just got so into it. I mean, she's a really, especially for the 1800s, I kind of expected this very cold style,
Yeah.
but it was really, she writes in such a personal way because she goes undercover and she's right there. She's a part of it. She truly cares about the people and the women that she was writing about. And so that really drew me to it. And then I read about how she was always an optimist, always smiling and looking on the bright side of things. And I loved that about her. So I was really drawn to the character. And then when I saw the script, I loved how sensitive it was to the women. It was telling the story from the women's point of view, which
Definitely.
I really appreciated.
It's a nice angle to take. Um, you said you did not read the book, you didn't know of Nellie's story prior to this, but how much of your research was kind of reading and reading again the book itself?
Well, I read her book over and over again, and I had like it highlighted all over the place, just trying to and reading all of her articles that I could find, trying to just get any insight into who she was. We were lucky enough to have a woman named Brooke Kroger, who is a wonderful author. She wrote a book, which I have. She wrote this book, Nellie
Yay!
Bly, Daredevil Reporter Feminist, by Brooke Kroger, which was an incredible resource because most of the books about Nellie Bly
Mhm.
are children's books, actually,
Okay,
and
interesting.
which are great and have great pictures, but they don't really tell you much more than Wikipedia will tell you.
Right.
And so she went and wrote this amazingly researched book. It kind of reads like a novel. Like if you go and read 10 Days in a Madhouse and you want to know more about Nellie Bly, this is the perfect book because
Okay.
Nellie Bly's whole life was it kind of reads just it was so uh, eventful and dramatic, and she was so brave and
Yeah,
such a trailblazer for women.
absolutely.
And so uh, that was so helpful to have this book and to be able to have a really detailed timeline of her life
Yeah.
and what happened to her. So
So interesting. For those who don't know, Nellie Bly, who also was that was her pen name. She's Elizabeth Jane Cochran. She's recognized also as one of the most important journalists in history because of her undercover work, which the 10 Days in a Madhouse is based off of at Blackwell's Island, Women Insane in Asylum. Did you ever feel any kind of pressure because of that while you were filming the role and putting basically going into her shoes?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think there's a pressure whenever you're playing someone that really existed,
Yeah,
to a pressure to kind of do it right and honor their memory in a way.
absolutely.
And especially because I had read so much and really fallen in love with Nellie Bly and all that she did. And yeah, I felt a lot of pressure to you know, do good to her. But also I felt pressure not to play her like a saint,
Okay.
even though I do think she's a hero.
Mm.
But I didn't want to portray her as, without flaw.
Right.
And I think Kroger really helped me a lot with that.
Okay.
Nellie Bly was quirky. She was fiery. She was very.
Enter an insane asylum.
Oh,
And
well, to
not
enter a
be
sane
insane.
asylum, but also to work in journalism at that time.
Right.
I think it was like 2% of women were journalists, or 2% of the journalist force was women. It was very, very, very small.
Yeah.
And the ones that were wrote about society, manners, the home, and that's all they got to do. And Nellie Bly was constantly being pushed back to that, and they were always like, "Oh, well, that's great. You can write about all your, social change, but come over here and write about, pillows."
Right.
And she just did not. That was not what she wanted to do. So she was very, very forceful about that, and rubbed people the wrong way sometimes. But she knew that that's what she had to do.
Yeah.
How she got into journalism was really cool. There was an article when she was living in Pittsburgh, and there was an article in the paper there that was called "What Women Are Good For." And it was basically about how women should stay home and they shouldn't work,
Right.
and she wrote this opinion article back that was just like scathing. It was like, and just tore his opinions apart, and was really, really smart and funny and really bright. And so she signed it "Little Orphan Girl" because her father died when she was 6, and part of her point was that she didn't have a father, that she and her mother had to take care of themselves and her younger siblings, that was their duty, and they had to kind of assume the role of men in a way.
Yeah. So she grew
And
up
so,
being a female, kind of take the lead.
yeah, absolutely. Well, and she also saw her mother. Her mother remarried to a man who had PTSD
Oh wow.
from the
Okay.
Civil War. Unfortunately, was an alcoholic and abusive, and it was a really terrible situation through her teen years. And then, thankfully, he was out of the family. They separated. She got a divorce, which was like unheard of at that time.
Absolutely.
And then her mother and Nellie moved to Pittsburgh to get away from it all.
Wow.
But I mean, it was just amazing. And so then when she wrote this article entitled "Little Orphan Girl," the editor saw it and thought it was great. It had a great voice, and so wrote a piece that said, "If you are a little orphan girl, we want to talk to you. So please come and see us." And so she trekked down there and got a job.
Oh wow.
And so she started writing for them. Yeah.
What an incredible story.
Amazing. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then my favorite part was that when they started, she actually traveled to Mexico and did a piece for them and wrote about Mexican culture and politics. And she had to have a chaperone, so she's supposed to have a male chaperone, but she pretended that her mother was a male chaperone, and her mother chaperoned her there. So, but then they kept putting her back into little soft pieces and things about cooking or whatever, things that she didn't want to do. So she just left a note there that said, "I'll be in New York, look out for me." And she just left and went to New York City to go work for Joseph Pulitzer, who was
Oh my gosh.
the biggest editor at the time. That was the
Absolutely.
biggest newspaper in the world. It was called the World
Yeah.
newspaper.
What an
And that's where
incredible
she
story.
wrote
So
10 Days.
inspiring.
Yeah, I mean, even just as a kid, growing up through her teens, she was just amazing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Really inspiring.
Was there anything along the way, whether it was about Nellie or her story or just the 10 days in a madhouse in general, that shocked you in your research or anything that you found where you were just really surprised to learn it?
Yeah, I was really surprised by, um, a lot of the things at that time, a lot of the prejudices against women and against the poor.
Yeah.
You weren't allowed to be poor at the time. That was a lot of women who didn't have money would just end up in the insane asylum.
Okay.
So she met a lot of women that weren't actually insane. Um, Also at the time, the uterus was thought to cause hysteria. And so just by being a woman, you were more inclined to have mental illness, or so they thought. And so there were so many women there that had no business being there. And
Yeah.
but what I really liked about what we did in 10 Days in the Madhouse and what the director, Timothy Hines, was really cared about was that we also didn't villainize the nurses,
Okay.
and that they had a story, because a lot of the nurses actually were immigrants who had come over and needed a job and needed something, and that ultimately, even through all of the abuses, they're justifying it
Right.
because they think that's what they have to do to maintain control and to maintain their own safety and their own livelihoods.
Right. And keep their job.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's where you get real drama and real tragedy, is because everyone's just trying their best. And I think that's what I love. Christopher Lambert, who's in our movie, he did such a wonderful job. He played one of the doctors, the main doctor, and he did such a wonderful job at really making his character relatable and sensitive. You felt for him in a way. Even though you're seeing him kind of be the reason for all these terrible things happening, and he's allowing these terrible things to happen, but you see that he thinks that that's what has to happen.
Okay.
And it's really heartbreaking.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, if nothing else, I mean, maybe this movie can get um, a discussion going in this country that I think immensely needs to happen, which is on the topic of mental health.
Yeah, I think when I was reading about where mental health was and kind of the history of how we've dealt with it as humans, it's a struggle, and it's been really hard, and we have made progress, but we're still at a point where it really needs readdressing. It needs another Nellie Bly, if you will.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I mean, that's why I really, through this movie, I really came to really admire journalists and what they do.
Right.
They make huge impacts. And Nellie Bly knew that. She knew that being a journalist, she could have so much more impact. Just bringing the truth, but also she knew that if she learned these stories and if she met these women, that if she made it personal for herself, then she would stop at nothing until something was done.
Absolutely. Now, so many book to movie adaptations, I mean, it doesn't, sometimes it gets really great results, sometimes it gets a bad rep. Um, how do you feel like this movie stays true to Nellie Bly's book?
It was really, really important to the director that it be as close and as true as possible. I mean, so many of the lines are straight from what she wrote, and the characters are straight from what she wrote, and then a lot of the characters, they did a lot of extensive research about what happened to them and where they came from, and so it was really, really important to us that it was close. And so when we show the film to Brooke Kroger, the Nellie Bly expert. We were really nervous and hoping we get her, okay, and we were so thrilled that she loved it, and she said, it was within, I think she 2% of the book. There's no Hollywood endings. There's no I had actually found a script that someone else had wrote of a movie that never got made about Nellie Bly, but it worked in like a romance between Nellie Bly and the editor, which did not happen and did not exist, especially at that point. Like, yeah, and I think that's just that's so wrong for Nellie Bly. I mean, she was so independent and not, she did so many more important things.
Right.
And so
well, it's like we have
so happy that
a lead, God forbid, there's not a love story attached.
Right. And that's really unusual, especially for a period piece. If you think through the period pieces that you see, like, there's always a romance. That's what we always
absolutely
go for and think of. So I'm really glad that this film doesn't use that as a crutch.
Right. And you're working
uses the relationships between the women.
Absolutely, yes. And you're working with so many wonderful actors, like Christopher Lambert and Kelly Lebrock. What kind of stuck out for you while you worked with them? Was there anything you learned from them, or just from being with them on set?
Yeah, well, I first met Christopher Lambert and shot with him, and he was incredible, so nice, and really, really passionate about the script. Me and the director we had dinner before we shot, and we just talked. I think we were in that restaurant for like 3 hours, 4 hours maybe, just talking about the script and the characters and the history, and it was amazing. And him on set, he'll go around and meet every single person there and remember their name. He's just so gracious and wonderful, and then so much fun to act with because he's just really on top of it and really fiery. And we'll just like come out with these choices, and you kind of feel like you're playing dodgeball, and you're like, whoa, didn't expect that. And then Kelly Lebrock is just a riot. She is so funny and so just a ball of joy and brightness on set. She just makes everyone laugh and smile, and because sometimes on set, it's stressful. There's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of money going around, and so to have someone like her that's just so down to earth and wonderful was great. And getting to be in the scenes with her was so much fun. I'm really excited for everyone to see what Kelly Lebrock did, because I haven't seen her do anything like the role that she did in our movie.
Wow,
it's great.
That's awesome. Now, your background is largely in theater, which I think most people watching know. How do you think that impacted your preparation for the role, or how you went about the role?
I've loved theater ever since I was a kid. That's kind of where I started, and so I think with this, I think theater really helped me kind of be able to really address the script like a play, like a full play. Because a lot of times with movies, you have really short scenes, and they're kind of broken up. And this, I kind of did it play style, where I memorized the whole entire script before we started shooting, which was a lot. But I knew that I just wanted, because the order was really important to me. I wanted to know, what day it was in the Madhouse, and how where her mental state would be at that point. It's going to be very different if she's 2 days in, or if she's 5 days in, or 8 days in. So I really just had to know the whole script inside out, and which is more of a theater thing. So I think that really helped me.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, speaking of your background, can you kind of tell us a little bit more about how you got into acting and theater, and what it means for you for your career?
Well, I started performing kind of as young as I can remember, as long as the video VHS tapes go back. They're all of me like with a ribbon or like performing something, and I grew up in Colorado, and so my mom like put me in any theater camp I could, but we always did a lot of hikes, a lot of camping, a lot of outdoor stuff. But so I would always I would recruit my friends and my brother to be in all of my plays, and we would hike around, and I would look for like rocks that looked like stages, and then we would. Hansel and Gretel was our go-to. That was like that was what we had in our repertoire. Uh, so it really started there, and then I just kept doing it as much as I could and loved it. And then I think I had some great mentors and teachers who encouraged me and let me know that they thought I was good. So I think that's important as a kid. You don't always you know that you like something, but you might not know if you're good at it.
Right.
So that was really important to me. So then I ended up going to college and getting my BFA in acting, which I loved. I just got to act all day and just do what I love all day, and it really taught me a lot. And I think I really grew as a person, which really prepared me to move out here to LA and be able to hopefully still stay grounded.
Yeah, definitely. It can be hard in LA.
Yeah. It's the weather. It's the same all the time, so people just they lose it.
We are actually going to take a couple of questions. We have a few questions here from our viewers. Sarah would actually like to know, do you think that the movie will change America's view of Bly? If so, how? Thank you for that question, Sarah.
Yeah, thank you. I absolutely think it'll change people. I think everyone should know who Nellie Bly is, and I think I hope this movie will, really bring her to the forefront of everyone's mind, because she, I mean, you see what she did, and I can't imagine going into an insane asylum, and she was 23 at the time, and she was just fearless, and I think everyone, girls, boys, men, women,
Absolutely.
everyone could look up to her and see that, and I'm a big advocate of her getting on the $10 bill. So I really hope that happens. They're really she's on the list, so I'm hoping that this movie has an impact on that, but also just getting more people talking about her and what she did.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you again, Sarah, for that very nice question. What was it like from Tom? He'd like to know, what was it like filming in Salem, Oregon?
Good. We shot in Salem, Oregon. I don't know if I said that. Salem, I'd never been to the Northeast, and it was beautiful. I mean, just like these amazing trees and just it was really beautiful, and the people were so nice. We had a lot of local crew and some actors, and they were just wonderful. And we actually shot in an abandoned insane asylum there in Salem. Yeah, and Salem actually has an interesting history because it's where One Flew Over Cuckoo's Nest was filmed there, and it has another mental hospital too. It has kind of a lot of history with the mental illness. And so the place where we shot was this huge abandoned campus with all these 19th century buildings that were just beautiful, and we got to use them, and we shot a lot of all the main stuff in that asylum. Which really, really helped in the kind of mood and energy of all of the scenes. Yeah, to really be in a place where that kind of stuff was happening.
Did you ever, for those out there who like, going to abandoned buildings or think that they're haunted, was there ever any kind of chatter on set about that, or?
Oh, yeah, all the time.
Oh my!
I tried to pretend that I'm not superstitious, just because we were shooting a lot at night and there was no electricity, so we all had flashlights. That was it, and it was. And they were these were huge buildings, and so we would only use like sections of them. So,
Right.
yeah,
Oh my
there was
goodness.
a couple like inexplicable door slams and
Oh,
things like that.
okay.
So I would just like slowly like cross off that room, like not going in that room, not going in that room, not going in that room.
Great.
So it was, yeah, it was really, it
Interesting.
was very intense.
Who for you in your career has kind of been your inspiration?
Oh, oh my gosh, so many people. My mom and dad. Is that a question for my mom and dad? My parents were a huge inspiration. They were just always, they're so down to earth and have a great sense of humor, and so they kind of just inspired me to just follow my dreams. And in terms of acting, which maybe that's more of the question. I mean, I admire so many actors. I can't even narrow it down. I always loved Amy Adams because she's also from Colorado. She grew up like 20 minutes north of where I grew up, so I've always loved her and kind of followed her career.
Yeah. I have to put this up. We do have a question from Timothy Hines. Sounds like you might know.
Oh,
He says during filming,
I do.
our casting crew kept seeing shadows moving around in the upper floors of the madhouse. What did the creature turn out to be?
Oh, this I feel like this is a trivia question. I was it. What did it end up being? Because I remember it was really scary when I kept like seeing this shadow going across, but now in my mind I'm like, that was real. That definitely happened. That was a ghost. But I think it actually, well, a couple times it was actually the crew or another cast person trying to like scare you,
Right.
which happened a lot. And I have like this terrifying, piercing scream that like the whole town just goes, whoa. So it scared me a lot. But I think there was actually a lot of like mice and rats, and there was an owl in
Yep.
the attic at one point.
That's what Timothy is saying.
Oh, it was an owl.
It was a giant bomb.
Oh yeah. So there was this owl that was always in the attic, but yeah, it would always be like making these scary sounds that I was just convinced that it was like the ring girl up there, like about to come eat us.
Amazing.
I don't
And
know.
thank you for that, Timothy. Thank you for participating. That was fantastic. Um, so what else? We're already almost, to the end here. It happens quickly. Can you tell us and the viewers kind of what you're working on next, or something you can tell us about that's coming down the pipe?
Yeah, well, me and Timothy Hines, who just asked the question, who is the director of 10 Days in a Madhouse,
Oh, wow. Thank
him
you.
and I are working on another film. Yeah, him and I are working on another film together, so I'm really, really looking forward to that. I don't have that many details yet, but
That's cool.
yeah, really looking forward to that.
Fantastic. And is there anything, we have to always ask this, is there anything on your reading list currently? Any authors that you're loving or books that you're in the middle of?
Oh, I just read a book about Irish heritage. I'm Irish. Nellie Bly was Irish, and so I read this book. It was called "How the Irish Saved Civilization," and I can't remember who it was by. I just returned it to the library, but "How the Irish Saved Civilization." It's really, really interesting. It's about how uh, the Irish kind of after the fall of Rome, the Irish and all of their scribes, they're like monks who just they like copied down all of Roman literature, so that the barbarians at the time didn't burn who were burning all of the books, but they were transcribing them, so they were saved.
Oh my gosh,
So
that's
it was a really cool book.
interesting.
Yeah.
And for our last thing here for everyone, we do what's called a rapid fire. So I'm going to kind of ask you this or that questions, and whatever comes to your mind first, go with. And here we go.
Okay.
Film or theater?
Film.
Okay. Thriller or comedy?
Maybe. Wait, what?
Thriller or
What was
comedy?
the last one? Oh, it went out. Thriller or
Thriller or comedy?
oh, thriller.
Okay. Romance or action movie?
Romance.
Zombies or aliens? Because, that's an important question this month.
Alien.
Okay.
Alien.
Movie theater or living room? Are you the DVD person or are you the go to the movie theater person?
Movie theater.
Okay. Do you like to binge watch or are you weekly tuning in?
Binge watch.
Amazing.
Guiltily.
I think we're all there with you. Um,
I try not to.
Caroline, this
But
was
it's
so
like
much fun. Thank you so much for joining us. We've unfortunately come to the end of our live chat. Everyone, thank you so much for joining us. And make sure Veterans Day weekend, you go out and you check out 10 Days in a Madhouse with Caroline Berry. Thank you so much. And everyone, have a great
thank you.
weekend. Bye.
Thank you.